still sounding pretty good there.
Wow, we sound so cool. I can't believe it.
It's as though we enjoy listening to ourselves.
I think we do a little bit.
Hey, this is Jonathan.
Hey, this is Andrea, and welcome to the TinderLand podcast.
Yeah, welcome. And we really appreciate the feedback and questions from listeners, so don't hesitate to reach out via our contact form at the website tinder.land or either Facebook or Instagram at TinderLand Podcast. So let's get right into it.
What about Twitter?
Twitter's out there too. It's at TinderLand Pod.
All right.
Yeah. In the last two episodes, we traveled to Iceland for our first date with Ice Princess, and then took a post-breakup ride on the rebound train out of Philly to your brief summer romance with German Girl in NYC.
Yeah, those are fun times.
Yeah, things didn't last there, but ended amicably, and the entire situation served as quite the coping mechanism in wake of your breakup.
Yeah, it was good for what it was, and it was what I needed at the time.
So that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So speaking of Iceland, we're hardly containing ourselves with excitement here, as this is a joyous reunion following your second trip to see the Ice Princess herself.
Yeah, this is the second time that I went to Iceland.
And so I'll promise in advance there won't be several minutes of commentary on Icelandic use of personal blankets. But seriously, did you really pack a duvet on your carry-on flight?
I really wanted to, Jonathan, but I was told that it was summer there and it would be kind of silly to bring, but I really wanted to bring my queen-size blanket.
Well, it sounded like a good idea.
It makes cuddling weird when, put your arm around somebody and then half of it is out of the blanket. It just doesn't feel right. I don't know.
I wouldn't be able to sleep.
Well, I slept because I was tired, but yeah, it feels weird. It's an Icelandic thing, I think. I don't know.
So it's your second date flying out to meet Ice Princess, and along with all the uncertainty and anticipation leading up to it, tell us how it went.
Well, before the trip, I was very excited. I had to pack my bag twice because I was only taking sweaters. I didn't realize it was that hot there, so I packed the bag again. I was feeling very pumped, but nervous, right? Nervous going into a second date. Really, a second date is what it is. But overall, feeling excited and happy and just having a lot of positive feelings, but also like kind of feeling maybe a little nervous as the dates are getting, as the travel dates getting close.
And how much time passed between the first and second dates?
2 months.
Okay. And throughout that time, I'm assuming there's a lot of messaging, a lot of conversation.
A lot of messaging.
Yeah.
Like texting almost all day, I would say. And also talking on the phone as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the temperature of things is pretty warm right as you're leaving to go out there the second time?
Yeah, I think it's high 61, low 51.
Okay.
So warm, but kind of chilly at night. I think it's pretty pleasant, the weather.
And how about the temperature between the two of you?
The temperature, it was good. Sometimes our temperature were a little bit different, a little bit off, but overall it was pretty good.
So everything went smoothly with the flight?
Yeah, everything went smoothly, but I packed a sex toy to take, and I was so nervous going through TSA that they're gonna search my bag.
And then foreign customs.
Oh my God, and then open, and then I have to explain to them. I don't even know. What do you even do in a situation like this?
That's probably an everyday thing for them.
But it's so embarrassing. So I was very nervous, I was more nervous because when you get nervous, I was getting nervous about them stopping me.
What, for illegal carrying?
So I was getting nervous going through immigration in Iceland. And I didn't want to give a drug dealer vibe, right? Like I'm hiding something. But I also certainly didn't want them to open my bag and find a sex toy. And I don't even know. But everything went well.
Well, good. You arrive, what time of day you get there?
So I left, this time I flew from Philadelphia. I got to Iceland in the morning. Same thing happened. I went to the main bus station from the airport. Ice Princess picked me up, and this time around I had an Airbnb. I didn't stay with her because I had booked the trip, planned the trip before ever knowing if I was going to hang out with her or not. So she takes me to my Airbnb. She has to work that day, right? So she's like, just gave me a ride. And I was like, thank you. I'll see you later. And she just went about her day. And I actually slept because I was feeling pretty tired, very jet lagged. So I spent part of the morning sleeping. Afternoon, I woke up and went to get some groceries. There was a grocery store nearby. Pretty much spent the day just chilling and getting acquainted with the Airbnb, right?
How was the rental accommodations?
It was good. It's very modern looking. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. It was nice because she got to bring her dog. I wasn't sure if I wanted to say that, but I guess the Airbnb people don't know me, so I guess I can say that. Yeah, she brought her dog over, which was really cool. So
are the Airbnbs there pretty abundant and flexible? I mean, it's not the most populated place in the world, but it's also a popular travel destination.
There's a lot of Airbnbs to rent, but that's a high travel season, right? The summer. But I was able to rent something at a good price. It was no big deal.
Okay.
So the place was really cool. After work, she comes home to the Airbnb, which is I'm gonna call my home, I guess. She comes over to the Airbnb, and I believe she made dinner that night. I don't remember. I know she was very sweet and cooked the entire time that I was there. She made dinner for me, and I managed to make her some American breakfast, which I thought she liked it. I thought that was very nice. But that night, because we haven't seen each other in a while, was a little bit, I don't want to say weird. It was just a little bit getting used to seeing each other, right? Because you see somebody for a weekend, then you don't see them. Then you see them again. So it just takes some getting used to.
When you've been close with someone, there's been 2 months in between, and yeah, it's a question mark as to how you rekindle that spark at a moment's notice.
Yeah, and I think my fix to that was opening up champagne.
That'll work.
So I bought a couple champagne bottles because it was my 35th birthday. So I told her, hey, let's have champagne tonight, and then let's save a bottle for my birthday. So we're popping Veuve Clicquot, throwing the name out there, just so everybody know how fancy it is. So we ended up drinking 2 bottles of champagne and maybe a couple of all the drinks. I don't know how many, but we went to sleep at night. So we wake up the next morning, or actually she's still in bed, and I was a little bit hungover from drinking the 2 champagnes, and her dog slept over, so I thought it would be nice to walk her dog. Plus, I like walking dogs. So I took the dog out for a little walk, came back, was making coffee, and I managed to go to bed. So I went to try to have coffee with her in bed, and the dog is attacking me, like growling, not letting me near the bed, being very protective over her.
Even after you take it for a walk?
And no, after I took it for a walk. The dog is like not thankful at all.
Ungrateful. So
we had some coffee, and then I believe she asked for a Coke because I think she was feeling a little hungover, and I was like, I bought Coke for you. So I grabbed her a Coke, and I'm coming back in the room with a little chocolate milk box. Have you ever seen those, like for kids?
Sure.
I give her the Coke, and I'm like shaking the chocolate milk box. And I was like, have you had those? These are great, like a little child. While the sophisticated person in the room is having a Coke, classic Coke in the morning. She goes about her day to work. She gets ready at her own house. And actually, the Airbnb was pretty close to her house. Not walking distance, but maybe like a 5-minute drive, something like that. She goes to work that day, and I decided to stay home because I was feeling hungover. I was feeling a little weird because I didn't know how to act. And remember, we FaceTimed that morning because I was like, please give me some advice. I'm not really sure how I'm feeling about the whole thing.
That's right.
And we had a nice talk. Right?
Questioning yourself.
I was questioning myself. And if the way I was acting was like too much, right? I felt like maybe I was putting a little bit of pressure on it.
Maybe being a little too pushy, and we talked about just giving her some time, some space.
Some space, right? I mean, you go 2 months without seeing somebody and you're expecting to be on the same page. I was being ridiculous, basically. You're being ridiculous. So after talking to you, I felt pretty good. I went out for a walk, got some coffee again near the coffee shop. I think people can get it that coffee is a theme in my life, especially in the morning. So went to the coffee, came back. I actually worked that day. Did some just regular work things that I had to do. And she came back to the Airbnb. And I believe at that time, maybe she brought some clothes with her. I don't remember. I know she did at some point. Maybe it was the second day.
So she's showing you she's staying for the evening most likely, takes a little pressure off.
Yeah, a
of
little bit pressure off of me.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually made dinner, which was really nice. She actually made dinner a lot for me, except I think we went out to eat once or twice. But
so the connection is questionable the first night, and the second night, you're starting to get a more positive vibe.
More positive vibe. And we made some drinks. She was drinking her classic gin and tonic with lime. So the evening's going well. We're talking. I think things are flowing better. We're on the same vibration that evening. I think we watched a funny movie. I was kind of tired. And we were talking about a little bit of what I wanted to do while I was there. I said I was pretty much down to do anything, but she gave me some advice on some hikes. She kind of told me a little bit what we were going to do over the weekend. She was off that weekend, and she was off that Monday as well because it was a holiday there. So that was actually pretty nice. I got to spend like 3 entire days with her without her having to go to work. We were really on the same vibe together. So, I can say that the night went well. And I was feeling like myself again, feeling relaxed.
Well, good. And then I guess the third day brought about your opportunity to travel around about, see some sights.
Yeah, I actually did a lot of things. It worked out well because while she was at work some days, I had a tour scheduled. So that worked out well, I think. But I did a lot of things, Jonathan. I got to see Iceland in the lens that I haven't before.
Well, cool. The local advice is awesome, and I'd love the opportunity to see it myself.
Yeah, so she gave me some cool suggestions. But I did a lot of things, and I just will kind of say what I did out of order because I don't remember what order I did things. I went snorkeling in a Silfra ravine between 2 tectonic plates, the North American and the Eurasian plates. So it's like a river that's very cold. Very cold. The water is not freezing because otherwise you couldn't swim in it. It would be ice. But it's basically just a little bit above freezing. They give you a dry suit to swim with. They make sure that everything's closed. But the gloves you have on, water will go in. And also your face is showing. Just your face, not your hair. So basically I felt like I had So when you go in the water, you're able to float because I think they put air on the suit. So it's easier to swim, right? Because imagine swimming with heavy clothes. So once you get in the water is pretty cold. I did not feel my face. And 10 minutes into it, I felt like I had Botox on my lips. I could not tell if I was biting into the gear or not to breathe. But I powered through. It was only like 45 minutes. Beautiful. The water is clear. You can actually drink it if you want to. I mean, all the water in Iceland is pretty much drinkable.
Pretty fresh, I guess. It's so cold, is there any kind of green vegetation underwater?
There was some algae. There was
So that's part of the rockscape.
neon looking.
Cool.
So when you're snorkeling, you can see the neon underneath it. So that was pretty trippy. I like that. I like that. Mm-hmm. So that day, the bus tour took me back. They finished the trip with a little bit of hot chocolate or coffee or tea. So that was pretty nice. I had some hot chocolate, feeling warm, and feels pretty good to go snorkeling, right? I mean, who else gets to snorkel between 2 tectonic plates that day? I got to do that.
In glacial water, yeah.
In glacial water, beautiful, very clear. Another thing that I liked that I did with the Ice Princess that was over the weekend. She took me to go hiking on a hot river. So we go hiking with her dog up the mountain, and then you go down the mountain. You start seeing a valley, and then you see the streams of water on the river, and you see steam coming out. I mean, it's freaking warm, the river, right? So that was pretty cool. I've never done that in my life. So that was a unique experience. And I love to do things that I haven't done before. So we get to the river. The way it is, it's set up for everybody to kind of just sit on a bed because the water is very shallow. So I'm asking her, where do we change our clothes? She's like, oh, you just change here. So you see people like showing their boobs, changing clothes. Very, very European, right? Something that people in America would be upset about, people changing. So I just, put my towel on and I'm changing. And then about to get in the water. And I'm like, hey, you going to get in the water? She's like, oh, no, because I have to hold my dog. I kind of got bummed out. I'm like, we hike, I don't know how long you're not even going to get in the water. But the dog was tired, so the dog just sat next to our bags, and then she joined me in the river. So we were just chilling, relaxing in the hot water.
Nice.
We dried up, managed to hike back that day, and then we went home. Same old, made dinner, cooked. That was pretty much what we did every evening, was to hang out, either watch a movie or talk. We talked a lot. And she would make delicious dinner. She even made duck for me. Duck? Who makes duck? I was like, this is so fancy. I feel so fancy eating duck. So that hot river, I hope I don't butcher the language. The name of the hot river is Reykjadolur. I don't know how to say that.
Sounds close.
It's something like that. Over the weekend, we went to hike on along the coast because it's surrounded by ocean water, right? So we went right on the coast to hike, and this place was beautiful. It was like a meadow of grass. The grass in Iceland is very fluffy, so you can almost lay on it. It's almost like a bed. It's so soft. So we're hiking in the middle. Her dog kind of disappears because, it's a little chihuahua and the grass is up to my knees. So we don't really see that. We just see the dog skipping, like so cute. Went to see some rocks. She's telling me a little bit about these birds that attack people. Don't really remember the name of the bird, but it was a funny story. Beautiful scenery. Felt like... just being in a garden, but with the ocean around, right? So that's very unusual. I thought that was pretty cool. And like I told you, she had a long weekend. We also managed to go to, we drove one of the days out maybe an hour or so out of Reykjavik to go to this hot pool that was in the hills. Imagine almost like Swiss hills, not so tall, right? Because it's not so tall, but the hills, and then there was a little cabin, little house, farmhouse looking, with where you're supposed to sit down to swim. But we noticed that it was drained. There was no water, so we drove like an hour or whatever for no reason. So that was actually pretty funny, and we got back in a car. She took me to a site where there's a church, like some kind, either the first Lutheran church or the last Lutheran church. The church was very beautiful too, and we finished that day with the typical Icelandic date thing, which is to get ice cream. That's what she told me. She's like, people go on dates here, they go and get ice cream. I said, people go on dates in the U.S., they go get drinks. We're alcoholics. The ice cream is soft serve where I went, with the cold covering of chocolate. It's pretty good. It was nice to get ice cream in the end after having a little bit of a letdown with the hot pool being closed. We kind of treated ourselves, and that was really nice. That night, I was talking to her, and I was asking, what other hikes should I do? Because, I really like to go on long hikes. I've hiked all of South America. I like to do 16 kilometers a day if I can. So she told me about this place. She recommended that I went to this hike. That was actually, we just found out today, that is top hikes in the world rated by National Geographic. So I feel pretty special that I got to go there. The place is called Finnveru's House. Did I say that well?
Finnveru House.
Finnveru House. I hope I didn't butcher it.
I think we're close.
Finnveru House. And it was beautiful. It was in a mountain. The trail led to the volcano that erupted in 2010. The volcano is called the Eyjafjallajökull.
That sounds good.
Wow, that was badass.
I like it.
Yeah, I liked it too. So the volcano Eyjafjallajökull erupted. I think I'm
Quit while you're ahead.
abusing my luck. It's the volcano that erupted in 2010. I don't know if you remember when a bunch of planes got grounded in Europe because the smoke was all over.
It was a problem, yeah.
So the hike goes over to the volcano. I actually walked on the volcano. So this package was a small group. It was only 6 of us. There was a British guy, an American guy, which actually I became friends with him a little bit on a trip. There was also an Austrian family. And funny enough, when they bought the tour, it said that it was for everybody, that everybody could go. But the mom and dad of the Austrian family, they actually didn't make it to the top because it got too hard for them. It's very slippery. You have to hold on to chains to get past the peak of the mountain so you can go to the volcano.
Here there'd be an elevator or something that spoils it.
Yeah, that kind of ruins everything. But the scenery is just beautiful, mountaining. One side on the left, you could see glaciers. On the right side, you could see the mountains and a lot of the green moss. Is it moss that grows in rocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see the green moss. And I was told by the guy that they take years to grow, right? So the greener it is, it just shows that the place is really old. And once we reached the top, you could see Magni on one side and you could see Modi on the other side. Those are the 2 craters, and they were named after Thor, right? The Norse god of thunder. Everybody's familiar with Thor, I think. So once we got to the top, we got a cool picture. It was beautiful, but it kind of started scaring me. On a funny note, not funny. Maybe I would say not funny, but interesting. When we were hiking, there was a little rock, and we're like sitting on a rock because we're taking a break waiting for the people behind us. We see this group of Icelandic hikers, and they talk to us. We're like, hey, how you doing? They come up to us, and they're like, hey, do you guys know you're sitting on a memorial? We're like, what? So we're sitting on a memorial for 3 people that died on top of that mountain in like 1970s, and we have no idea. We're like, oh, sorry, we're not trying to be disrespectful.
Oops.
Just a little small plaque. I mean, how would I know? So we paid our respects to the people that are there. But the problem with hiking in Iceland, there's no snakes that can kill you. There's no like anything like weird spiders. Is the weather. The weather that can get you.
Very quickly.
Yeah, because you go up top. Well, you start from the bottom and it's sunny, and all of a sudden the wind starts picking up, a lot of rain, and it's very steep. If you fall off, like you'll die, you know. But once we got to the crater, because this volcano doesn't have I don't know the name, the crown, the top of the volcano, it doesn't have a crown, right? The lava flows underneath it. So you could see the new rocks that were formed from the previous eruption in 2010. And that's an active volcano, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet.
I think that was the highlight of my trip because I just love hiking. It was so beautiful.
Got it. So beyond the tourist sites, how was the personal connection developing between the 2 of you throughout all of this?
You know, that's the thing. We were vibing well, but it was really hard to get on the same frequency.
Right.
You know, we mentioned earlier that I was being maybe a little too pushy the first day. So I was really struggling to find a balance between, you know, asking for the attention that I needed, right, from someone I kind of admire. And I didn't want to crowd her space, right? I want to be cool. So I was kind of having a hard time finding that balance. That was a struggle that I had. But as usual, I was being optimistic and a little bit clueless. Right.
Got it. Yeah, in our conversations, it was apparent you might be learning something new about yourself or your limitations, expectations, and boundaries. Maybe began to understand different ways of approaching people who maybe see romance a little differently, despite your typical diehard romantic tendencies.
Yeah, I had to try to find a little bit about it was valuable. I really liked it. I see it as a positive thing anyway.
Well, any relationship where you learn something new about yourself is really a win, especially if both parties gain new insight. And maybe this was something a little different from her, too, encountering a personality such as yourself.
Well, yeah, how many crazy Brazilians and half Brazilian, half American do people meet, right?
A few.
A few. But in Iceland, maybe not that many.
Not that many. All right. And at this point in the trip, maybe there's some extra anticipation building as well because your birthday is fast approaching.
Yeah, my birthday is approaching, and I'm a little nervous about turning 35, right? That's kind of a big deal birthday.
So old.
So old. I'm so old. But the birthday was actually awesome. This is one of the best birthdays I had in a while. My last birthday was a little dramatic, so this was kind of nice.
Good.
I woke up in the morning, the day of my birthday, to a beautiful chocolate cake.
Nice.
With candles, with the numbers 3-5 on it. And she came in to bring to the bed. And I thought that was so fucking sweet.
It's very sweet.
Very sweet. I mean, that's very thoughtful. That made me very happy.
Some girls may have just gotten you a cupcake.
No, I got a whole fucking chocolate cake.
Nice.
All to myself. That day, I had to check out of the Airbnb because when I booked it, that last night was not available. So I booked a hotel. And Ice Princess said, "Oh, why did you book the hotel? You could have stayed at my house." But at that point, I was like, I didn't know that was an option, right? So I had it booked a long time ago. The tour dropped me off at the hotel where I was staying, and she took my things out of the Airbnb, so that was actually really nice. Took a long nap because after, drinking that early in the morning, waking up that early, being in hot water, I was pretty beat up. And after hiking, it was just a good way to end the trip, right?
Nice birthday nap after Blue Lagoon. Typical birthday.
Ice Princess stopped by and she said, "Do you want to have that champagne?" We get to her house. We're popping champagne. I'm feeling so fancy. I'm 35 years old. I went to the Blue Lagoon. We had a couple glasses. We take a taxi to the restaurant. And she finds a place where I can have what I wanted for my birthday, which is steak and French fries. So I got to have my steak and French fries. The restaurant was awesome. She then proceeds to tell me, "Hey, I invited a friend over. I think you guys would get along. Is that okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't care." Right. Her friend stops by later, join us kind of in the middle of dinner, but she's just having a drink. And very cool girl. She actually went to college as an exchange student to LSU. So I'm just going to call her Southern Belle because she's a very cool girl. I really enjoy talking to her.
Icelandic Southern girl, huh?
A little bit, yeah. So she understood the y'all lingo. We were talking about how there are bong rooms in college, about the weed culture. And then I'm telling Ice Princess, "You see, like this is how America is. America number one." But it was actually cool. It was a cool thing to meet her friend. And as we're leaving, her friend gives us a ride back to. So I decide to sleep at Ice Princess' house because her dog couldn't come over because of the hotel. When we got back to her place, she said, "You know what my friend told me? I guess you weren't listening because it was in Iceland." I said, "No." She's like, "Yeah, my friend told me that we have nothing in common." And I'm laughing. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's obvious. We're so different. It's like fire and ice, like the dance with Game of Thrones, right? We're complete polar opposites." And I was like, "Yeah, but I think that's not a problem. Do you think it's a problem for people to be different?"
It could certainly go both ways. Opposites attract. Sometimes differences complement each other. Of course, there's certain personalities that just clash no matter what.
But all went well. We got champagne again because we had a little bit of champagne left over. We're having drinks. I'm eating my birthday cake. And we basically went to sleep because I was too drunk, passed out.
It happens.
I wake up after my birthday. She drops me off at the hotel. We kind of say goodbye, right? Awkward goodbye. Because leaving is always weird. I just don't like goodbyes. You know, I do Irish goodbyes in parties, right? I just leave. I don't say goodbye to anybody. Because I just have a hard time saying goodbye.
That's not very South American of you.
I know. So after saying goodbye, I go into the hotel. What do I realize? I don't have my bag. My bag is in her car. So I have to say goodbye again, right? Because it wasn't...
Oh, man.
Oh, so bad, dude. Like, why do I do that? So
and
forgetful.
You're just feeling that because you're trying to get least awkwardness as possible.
So I had to say goodbye twice. That was fucking hard.
Well, and in between that saying, by the way, I don't have my shit together.
Yeah, so I get to the hotel and I text. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but my bag's in your car. She's at work.
Oh, God.
And I was like, could you please come give it to me on my lunch break? Or maybe I can meet up with you or something, whatever is easier. She's like, no, I can come on my lunch break. So her lunch break, she comes and, she gives me my bag. I think she's laughing a little bit because I'm so forgetful. And we say goodbye again, torturing myself 2 goodbyes in a day. And I went home maybe a few hours later.
Right, okay.
Smooth flight. Flew back with Icelandic Air. It was pretty good. They don't have the unlimited drinks, unfortunately. Not like Delta, but it was still pretty good.
Okay, and so you arrive home safe and sound, I presume?
Yes, I made home safe and sound, but I was emotionally drained. I got so tired when I was home because there was a lot of ups and downs in my emotions, and I was just very, very tired.
Yeah, and that's a lot to process. Going out there, all the anticipation, you come back and you clear your head. How are you feeling, a day or two in?
Reclusive, withdrawn. I was having withdrawals, right? I mean, you have a good time with somebody, then you go back home to being alone. And the whole thing is just, I was feeling very weird.
Right. Was that any just disconcerting feelings over the situation with Ice Princess? Or are you just tired, or what do you think?
At that point, she was texting me and being very nice to me. So it wasn't anything it wasn't like a bad vibe I was getting for her. I was just emotionally drained from myself because a lot of these things I didn't open up to her, right? So I kept everything bottled in. And it takes me a while to process, as you know. I'm not very quick to process things. Okay.
And you spent a week or so in Philly, and by the end of that week, how was the rhythm, the temperature, your communication?
We were vibing. We were talking normally. I was feeling pretty good about everything, feeling good about the trip. I want to just leave it on a good note. I loved it. It was like a very good trip for me. And I was just feeling very positive about the whole thing.
And it sounds like Ice Princess was very accommodating and made you feel very welcome, especially the birthday. It sounds pretty cool.
Oh my God, the birthday it was so sweet. She's so fucking sweet. Like the birthday, the cake, the cooking for me. Like I just felt pampered. I love feeling pampered. Nice. I love being taken care of.
Nice. And so I guess a few days in, you started to get back on your feet a bit?
Started to get back on my feet again. Then we managed to talk, and then I say, hey, I'm going to come back to Atlanta so we can do the podcast again, right? So I bring myself to Atlanta.
And you were feeling pretty good, really positive, chatting a lot, and you had more rather than less certainty, I think, or fewer questions anyway.
I was feeling pretty positive about everything. So I get to Atlanta, come to your house to have a few drinks so we can catch up. And I'm feeling pretty pumped, pretty good about everything, about just meeting up with you guys, about the trip. I was actually very excited.
Yeah, you were excited about the trip. You were excited about Ice Princess, and everything was great.
No, actually, everything was not great. She actually dumped me. She said that she wasn't having feelings for me or developing feelings for me.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, ouch. I didn't see that coming at all. So that took me by surprise, of course.
Right.
I just don't know, why can I not see things? I don't understand.
Well, I think this sounds familiar. I think we're developing kind of a trend here. What does this say about you? You feel good about it, and then a few days later, you get the text message.
Yeah, and then I just have no idea. I just don't know what that's about. I think it's my positivity.
Well, in both of these situations, we're talking about German Girl, Ice Princess. You're talking about factors of distance, factors of time, all kind of working against you. But
And culture too, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We've, I think, developed a theme of you enjoy the challenge and the uphill battles sometimes, and this was certainly no exception.
No, I enjoy the uphill battles. I like a challenge. So it was fulfilling in that way, right? I was pretty bummed out when she told me that because I didn't see it coming. I think when you see it coming, you kind of prepare yourself. I was just clueless, completely clueless.
And it seemed at the time that the message she shared with you was the most honest and direct communication she could give you. It was very, very direct, and it's something that most people, I think, would appreciate.
Oh no, I really appreciate that because if you are not direct with me, then I have no clue.
Yeah, you'll get led on, and it'll just waste everyone's time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a common theme with your personality. I think a couple episodes ago we talked about your Myers-Briggs personality test, and we were completely wrong. We misspoke. Your actual results were the type you came out as. It was ENFPA, which stands for extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving.
Perceiving, yeah. And it's also called a campaigner, right? It's what they call it, campaigner personality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, there's a website they call 16personality something.com. When you go to my personality type and you actually, maybe we can read a little bit, just the part that talks about relationships.
Sure, hit me.
It's just straight, if I was like, oh my God, that's me, right? So the part that says about me, when you go to the how this personality type is in romantic relationships, it says you cannot live without a fire. Long-distance relationships are quite common among campaigners, as they view physical distance as just another idea, no match for concepts like love. This gives them a chance to demonstrate their commitment, both by staying true despite the physical separation and with overtures of effort to surprise their partners, crossing the distance on a whim. These are demonstrations of campaigners' mystery, idealism, and deep emotion. Such efforts often keep flames of a relationship burning bright. Isn't that me?
That's something, yeah. Yeah, outward displays of effort and loyalty. It's interesting.
Very interesting. Though that kind of scared me. I was like, are you into my brain? How do you know all of this?
Yeah, and so it sounds like you really were able to reflect a bit and maybe learn how to approach a similar situation going forward a little differently.
Yeah, I think I can remain cooler a little. I think I've learned some things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Okay, so that's Ice Princess Part 2. And you've mentioned recently about reasons you might reset or delete your Tinder profile and start over again. What are some of those scenarios where you just need to reset?
I actually remember a funny story, so let's see. When I was in Iceland, I was telling Ice Princess that I just cannot find people that I'm attracted to in the United States. And she thought that was so absurd, right? And I was like, no, truly. I mean, I can show you my Tinder if you want to see it. So she's like, yeah, can I see it? So she gets my phone. And I show her Tinder, and I was like, okay, Tinder passport, let's take it to Philadelphia. So I take her to Philadelphia on my Tinder. And then she's like, gets my phone, and she's like, can I swipe it? And I was like, yeah, and I'm next to her telling how to swipe, right? So she starts swiping, and I'm like, no, she has a filter. No, I don't like how she looks. No, she looks like she likes emo music. Just this absurd things for swiping left. Not interested in anybody. So essentially, she's like, okay, I can see that you're just being picky. And I'm like, no, truly, let's keep swiping. We keep swiping. She looks to me and she says, okay, Iceland is a smaller country, but they're better looking girls. And I say, yeah, you're right. So it's worth taking the plane, right? But I thought that was funny. But to tie into why I would reset my Tinder, sometimes not sometimes, but when you swipe left, you no longer can see that person. So a reason for setting it up is just to have a fresh look on who's out there.
Got it. Okay. So you're just starting the queue all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Tinder's set up pretty well to work that way.
Yeah, and I think to delete it, you have to just completely delete the app and then reinstall it. I believe that's how it works.
Okay. All right. And what about this as you get deeper into a new relationship through Tinder?
Okay.
Right. There's a certain point where you might talk about being exclusive, but perhaps there's a undefined point before that you're both expected to no longer be swiping. How does that work? When do you stop swiping when you've had a few dates with someone on Tinder and it's starting to get serious?
I think if I start developing interest, not that I will delete my Tinder, I'll stop swiping. But with Philly girl, for instance, we were dating maybe 2-3 months into it, and then I see Tinder on her phone, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Delete your Tinder.
Not a surprise in that case.
I know. I would expect it to just be something that you do on your own and not expect it. It's kind of creepy to go through people's phone, right? That's not something I like or approve of. You know, those couples that they have each other's password and they see each other's email. That just builds distrust from the get-go, so I don't like that.
It can, yeah. Yeah, and maybe the transparency can be good, but there's so much communication, interaction, and things that can be confused as mixed signals in your phone, in your social media, that it's almost impossible for even your significant other to interpret, to really objectively assess what's going on. If they're paranoid, they're going to find it.
Right. Yeah, so I think I don't worry about it. I think it's better that way. You just assume that the person is being cool with you.
So keep it an unspoken thing. Yet, of course, if you're a few months in and you notice the swiping
like Philly
gesture,
girl, right? I'm like, come on, man.
Got it. Okay. And so, what is coming up for you next?
I'm going to Spain. I'm going on the 2-week or 2.5-week vacation with Marcella.
Okay.
We're going to Madrid. So my part of the trip was actually to plan the Spain part. She's gonna plan the Portuguese part from Portugal because she has a list of things she wants to see, and I don't really care where we go.
Nice.
So we're gonna go to Madrid for 2 days. We're gonna be in Barcelona for 3 days, and then we're gonna go to Ibiza for 3 days, and that's exciting.
I hear there's a nice monastery there.
I don't know. I think it's a party place, dude. We will have more stories to tell, that's for sure.
Well, good. We'll look forward to it, and I guess we've made it through another one.
We made it through another one, people.
All right, cool. Well, it continues to be enjoyable, and thank you, Andrea, for sitting down.
No, thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been my pleasure.
Awesome. Happy travels. Happy swiping.
Thank you.